Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prose podcast. I'm your host, Tali Shamus, and today I'm joined by writer Lauren D. Fulter to talk about her transition from self-publishing to traditional publishing, the lessons she's learned from working for a publisher, and stay until the end to hear my most embarrassing story involving a photocopier. This is a fantastic episode. Lauren D. Fulter has been creating fictional characters in her head and getting scolded for daydreaming about them in class for as long as she can remember. She published her first installment in her series, The Unanswered Questions, at age 16 and hasn't looked back since. She's now an active member of SCBWI and works as a marketing assistant for Whimsical Publishing. She's a university student on the sunny beaches of California, studying humanities with an emphasis in creative writing. So Lauren, why don't you tell me about your writing journey thus far?
Thank you so much for having me. That is a long story. So I think I told you this before I got on, but I actually started publishing at 16. I published my first book when I was 16, and I self-published it, obviously, and it was a YA post-apocalyptic fantasy, and I just started promoting on Instagram, and I kind of had a lot of mild success in the beginning, and that really motivated me as a kid. And I published a second book in the series at 17. I published a third book in the series at 18. And I published a fourth book in the series at 19. And self-publishing was really my groove for the longest time. I really had never considered even doing traditional publishing. I had never actually considered even writing a book outside of the series. I was totally that kid that had like this massive universe and everything took place in the massive universe. And it was wildly complicated, and it's still a little too complicated. But I think we all need to have that overly complicated for a story. But mine just happens to be on the shelves. And what really kind of changed my mind to go to traditional publishing was I have a friend who's traditionally published with a small press, and she kind of like turned to me and she was like, I feel like you have more of a story in you than just this one series that you're just set on self-publishing. Like there's probably more stories you're meant to tell. And she's a huge middle grade writer. Her name is Millie Florence, if anybody wants to look into her. And so I was like, okay, I guess I have like one middle grade idea. And I also had noticed that my YA series has a huge middle grade audience, which a little scares me a little bit. I feel like it's not appropriate for 12-year-olds. It's just a little violent. But you know what? I've learned that 12-year-olds love violence. So I was like, maybe this is the right path. So I started writing a middle grade novel that I actually had an idea for a TV show, because originally I was also going to go into film, and that never ended up happening. And so I wrote this into a novel, and I never ended up submitting to the small press she suggested to me, because I found out about like agents and like the whole world of traditional publishing. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to pursue this because I kind of think this is good enough. I don't know why. I'm usually consider myself a huge pessimist, so I don't know where that confidence came from. But I started querying agents, realized the book was garbage, and I didn't know anything about querying. So I rewrote it in the year I started going to college. I started learning more about publishing, and like traditional publishing just became like my newest obsession. And I started 2 years later, I think, I can't remember the exact math, I started re-querying the same book, and that's when I ended up getting an agent. And now traditional publishing has me in a chokehold. It's kind of a toxic relationship, but I love it nonetheless. So that's like the super brief version.
And so where are you at right now in this snapshot in time?
In my publishing journey?
Yeah.
Okay, so to be like, I'm in my parents' basement, if you're asking.
That's the best answer.
I'm like, I don't think that's what you want to know. Yeah.
No.
But I am currently agented, and we are looking for a home for my middle grade troll novel, and I'm really excited about that. So it's definitely, I mean, as you know, it's just a lot of sitting here and waiting and seeing where everything leads. But I'm really happy. I have a great agent, AJ Van Bell. They are fantastic, and they keep me sane, which is pretty good because I have a hard time doing that. But it's so nice to not be the person that handles everything.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Those are definitely my thoughts. I know that, some people, even in the Discord that we're in this morning, were saying that they wish they had a little bit more control over the submission process, but I just like sitting back and having someone else do
I'm
it
like, this
for
is why
me.
I got an agent. I'm okay.
Exactly.
I'm all right. Yeah, because getting a query rejection would like ruin my entire day. I think I got better toward the end. Like I really got the tough skin, But I'm like, I'm kinda glad because I get monthly updates that really I just get, like, a recap every month so I can just be sad for one day instead of, like, every day. So I prefer that a lot more.
I was gonna ask actually because I know that you're one of those people that waits until the end of the month, but
Mhm.
I mean, I guess if something big happens, your agent is still gonna reach
Yeah.
out to you, but how do you deal with the suspense? How often do you think about being on sub? Do you go about your day and just not even have it in your mind?
No, unfortunately. I haven't gotten to that stage yet. Like, I have ADHD, and I get really, really hyperfixated on projects, and, unfortunately for me, it's the one that's on submission. I'm trying so hard to find a different project to hyperfixate on, but I can only think about this project, and so I can only think about it being on submission. And I'm like, "No, it's stuck. It's in limbo." So, unfortunately, I haven't figured out a way to not think about being on submission, but I like not knowing because then I can live in delusion because 'cause I'm like, "It's not dead yet." So, I
That's
think
true.
that that's what's keeping me going. I don't mind the monthly updates. I mean, a little bit. Sometimes I will go a little stir crazy, I think in, like, the last week where I'm like, "Oh, it's almost been a month. I haven't heard anything." But yeah, honestly, I don't mind it. I think it really submission works differently for everybody,
Yeah.
and as you see through the Discord, everyone does it so differently. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and it
Mhm.
gives you something to look forward to, having it at the end of every month, you
Exactly,
know?
surprise. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But okay, going back, so you mentioned that you had written 4 books before
Yes.
getting agented. Tell me a little bit about how agents reacted to that information. Did you tell them when you were querying them that you had written these books? Did you kind of use your sales as a selling point for you as a client?
Great question. This was actually such a point of conflict when I was trying to start querying. So, I I reached out to a lot of people have really strong opinions about being self-published and going into querying. I met a older retired agent who said if you had self-published, you'd basically ruined your entire career and you're not going to make it in trad publishing. And I remember being so upset. And I talked to my professor who used to work at his literary agency. She got a six-figure deal with a big five, so I'm pretty sure she knows what she's doing. And she told me, like, "Oh my gosh, who is this agent? That's, like, garbage advice. Just completely ignore it." Apparently, it's really outdated advice. I'm sure that agent was lovely and, like, knew how to do their job before, but apparently this is becoming more outdated, which was encouraging. So I ended up putting it in my query letter because of a lot of the advice I was getting. Like, there was no harm in not to, like, the agent was gonna find out no matter what. I actually Lauren D. Fulter is not my real name. It's a pen name. So I actually queried under my real name and then mentioned that I had self-published books under a pen name. And so that way I was like, well, if the agent ends up like hating the self-published books, they could just like use my real name. My agent actually likes my self-published books, which is scary. And I'm being submitted under Lauren Fulter right now, which is a little scary. But I found like that's again, I like having an agent because they can make those professional calls and I can just sit here and
Mhm.
be like, cool. Um, so I didn't have any problems with agents I submitted to, but I do remember that was such like a conflict of interest just depending on who I asked. Some people were really strongly against it, some weren't. I do think that the stigma against self-pub is lessening as we're going through. I think there's
Mhm.
just been so much proof that self-publishing can be such a valid and publishing path. And
Yeah.
I don't think there is like as much of a, ooh, you were self-published, you've dirtied your career mentality in traditional publishing anymore, especially with like newer agents and like just people that kind of understand. Because I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think self pub, especially in romance, kind of pushes the trends right now. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the books that are getting picked up, and it's really exciting because I'm like, oh, I've met so many great, amazing indie authors who've become trad authors, and they totally deserve all of the love. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. With book talk and, all of those
yeah.
communities, we're seeing a lot of people break
Hmm.
through self-pub. What I've heard actually, is that, if you self-publish and it goes really well and your books
Hmm.
sell really well, that is fantastic. That's gonna get you
Hmm.
signed. And if you've self-published and your books haven't sold well, then you just change your name that you're writing under, and that's it.
Yeah,
You move
exactly.
on.
So I wouldn't say like my sales I wouldn't say they're fantastic. I didn't sell thousands of copies. I wasn't writing romantasy. That's where I went wrong at 16. I wish I was, but I like to say that, like, my book sales actually helped me pay my entry fee to college, which was really cool, and I think that that was part of the story that gets people excited.
For
Um,
sure.
I think that's kind of why my agent is kind of leveraging it because it's like, "Oh, look, this is a teenager that did okay in self-publishing." But yes, that's the great thing about pen names is that you can just change it if that wasn't working out for you.
So, can you tell me a little bit about the book that got you agented? So, you wrote your 4 books that you self-published. Before that, had you written
Yes.
any others? Oh, right, you had one
Mhm.
that you didn't like, that you started querying with, right? And then you wrote another
That was
one?
actually the same book.
Ah, okay.
It is. I've written, like, 4 different versions of it. It's terrible, but I was really attached to the idea of the execution did not work many times. But, yeah, so I've actually written 10 books. And this one
Wow.
was my 8th book. I don't even remember. Um, I feel like we always joke that when you're 12, you like, I wish I had the reading speed of a 12-year-old. I wish I had the writing speed of teenage me because I don't know what was going on. I could never. I don't know. But yeah, so that is a middle grade fantasy. It is a heist. It takes place in a magical monster hunting program where an
Ooh.
undercover troll girl teams up with a chemist who's cursed to die, and they go in to like steal an artifact, and neither of them know each other's real identities.
Mhm.
And it has a STEM based magic system, and the main characters are neurodivergent because I'm very neurodivergent. And I really wanted to write about neurodivergent characters in academia, especially magical academia. Because I
Yeah.
remember growing up with a super popular like magical school trope, but all these kids are magical prodigies. And I'm like, what about the ones who like fail tests and need learning and disability accommodations? And so that was kind of like the whole gist of it. So that's the book I'm hopefully that's on submission right now.
I love that
Yeah.
so much. I really love that. And my
Mhm.
first book that I had ever written, so it was an adult book, but also because I'm neurodivergent, I wanted my main character to embody that.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because it's kind of your book, I mean, it's kind of giving Artemis Fowl vibes.
Oh
If
my
Artemis
gosh,
Fowl.
Artemis Fowl is like my favorite book of
Ah!
all time.
Mine too.
Yes.
Oh my
Oh my goodness.
gosh. I have it on my bookshelf, but my bookshelf is too far away for me to get up right now.
Okay, best friendship right now. Oh my gosh. Artemis
Oh, I
Fowl,
love it.
one of my favorite books of all
Ah.
time.
Oh
And the
my
whole
gosh, I
series is
love
uncanny.
it. So, how long were you querying your book?
So I started querying for 1 week when I was 18. That's when I realized that I didn't know anything about querying and it was kind of bad. I did get one request though, which was random. I feel so bad for that agent. It pulled it out of the trenches. I edited it for a year and then I went back into the trenches for another week and then I got another request and then I was rejected like 24 hours later and I was like, oh my gosh, my career is over. Then I realized that maybe it's the first chapter. And so I spent an entire month completely rewriting the beginning. I sent it back into the trenches. It did 1,000 times better with the one chapter change. I got a bunch of requests and then in January, I got a rejection kind of R&R that was like, I love the concept of this. The beginning's super strong. This reads like a first draft. You're terrible at grammar and everything there's the like they gave me an entire list of just stuff that needed to be fixed. And I am a college student who works 2 jobs, and so I was like, "I can't revise this, I don't have time." And then my professor, the same one I mentioned before, I messaged her and she was like, "Well, I'll give you class credit if you do it." And so I was like, "Perfect." So I rewrote the book basically from scratch in 4 weeks, and I resubmitted it. I had a ton of people proofread for grammar. I'm also, like, not good at grammar, learning disabilities, all that fun stuff, spelling, out the window. But I think it has less spelling mistakes than I used to. And I sent it back into the trenches again. So I went in and out a lot. And I ended up getting an offer within a week. And it was from a different agent. The agent who had requested the changes they responded to me and they actually said, I couldn't find anything wrong with this. I sent it to a second reader, and basically they just said they didn't ended up connecting with the voice. It was a little too childish for them. And then my agent that now represents me said that they loved that it sounded like a kid. So I was like, okay, so that was obviously the right choice.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
the long
incredible.
version. So I think
Wow.
I was like totally in the trenches for like 4 months, but it was over 2 years because I kept
Right.
going in and out and out and out.
Right, right. Wow, that's wild. I don't think I've
Mm,
ever heard anyone have a I mean, I'm sure someone has, but that's just so interesting. I've
yeah.
never heard of an experience like that. And so what was your offer period like?
Um, it was pretty chill, actually. I I didn't have a ton of agents left. Well, I didn't have a ton of agents to begin with because I just had 1 week, basically.
Yeah.
Um, so I got a bunch of, like, fulls as you do. I think I was in total shock and denial, to be honest. Like, a lot of people talk about being, like, super anxious and, like, this is just a crazy time for them. I think I was in a coma. I don't remember anything that happened. I'm such a terrible pessimist. I literally never thought this would happen, especially for this book. I was actually preparing. I had an entirely other manuscript ready to go for querying in like the next month. So I was just happy that something was happening in my life. Um, so yeah, pretty chill. I I ended up signing with the first agent that offered, and it that was pretty good. And I have no regrets ever since. But yeah, I think it was pretty chill.
How long has it been since you signed, and what has that process looked like getting you ready for sub, getting you on sub? Did you collaborate with your agent? Was it mostly your agent, like working on your pitch and your sub list and whatnot, and the edits to the book as well?
Basically, my agent, we didn't have a ton of edits. The one thing we did need to edit though was, to nobody's surprise, the grammar. So I fixed all the story stuff, but I still hadn't got the grammar down. I still don't. Um, but good thing one of my main characters is based off of some of my learning disabilities, so I'm like, please have mercy on me. Its own voices, as you
Yeah.
could tell. Um, Most of our edits were actually mostly on line level stuff. The story changed very little. I think we did only some edits in the first 2 chapters because there was, like, a time continuity error. The first chapter actually starts after the second chapter started, but I don't know why I did that, but in my head, it made sense. And my agent was like, "We can't do this." And I was like, "Okay, alright." But that was the only major edit I think that we did to the story, which makes sense because I had spent so long completely rewriting it. So I was really glad
Yeah.
that we didn't have to do that again. So after we did that, we went on sub, I think a month and a half later. And
Nice.
yeah, it's been pretty chill. We got hit with summer, which as you
Mm.
know is terrible. I'm really glad I joined that Discord because it's just been very quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some really cool experiences. I don't know how many of experiences I'm allowed to share, but I've had some fun experiences with editors in real life
Ooh.
and online, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I didn't think this book would get an agent, so if it gets a book deal, I'll be like my mind will be blown, but it's been really fun.
Preparing for sub, did your agent take on most of that responsibility? Did you work on it
Yes.
together? Okay.
Yeah, so they took on most of the responsibility. I think I just sat there really and they sent me emails and I was like, "Perfect. Thank you." So, I didn't have a lot of I've run into editors, not run into. That sounds like magical and lucky. I'm not. Um, but to clarify, I work for a publishing house. I am
Oh.
a marketing assistant.
Oh.
Um, and so I get sent to events. So I have just happened to be in conversations with people, which have been really cool. And so any help I've had is just DMing them on Instagram, my agent being like, "Hey, met this person. Do you think we could send it to them?" So that's the only help I think I've ever been. But they handle basically everything, which is really great. And I think I've only helped in the way of I wrote up an entire marketing plan because I have like really elaborate plans for how to market a middle grade,
Yeah.
including like I want to make like a mini musical, which I think would be fun. And
Oh.
like all sorts of like weird stuff. So I sent that to my agent, which we I think attached to our manuscript. And I also I'm also an illustrator, so I sent a bunch of art just to like make the editing letter or sub letter seem really fun and fancy and whimsical.
Aw.
So that's what I contributed, but really my agent, they're a superstar and they did most of the work and I'm so happy for that because I'm tired.
That's incredible. That's
Mhm,
so fun. I love the idea of
mhm,
illustrations. Oh my gosh,
mhm,
you're so lucky to be
yeah.
able to do that. Well, so you mentioned working for a publisher,
Yes.
as a marketing assistant. Let's talk about marketing in the publishing industry and what it
Whoa.
takes for a writer to be seen. So why
Oh,
don't you give us kind of a
yeah.
breakdown? Let's start broad.
It's a ever-changing definition. Like, I don't think there is a magical solution to getting seen in the publishing industry, especially right now. I think maybe a couple years ago, I would have been like, "Get on TikTok, post every single day," but I'm seeing that's becoming less and less effective for people, uh, and I'm seeing right now, and if we're talking general, I'm seeing a comeback in in-person events and a lot of that stuff.
Ah,
So really my general advice to people would probably be to, like, really keep tabs on how these tides are changing because they are changing all the time,
yeah.
and where you can best serve your audience. Because I really think that depending on your audience, where and how you market is going to be entirely different, which is kind of a given, but I don't know if people realize that. Like, again, I wanna get into middle grade, and middle grade is you have a much better chance of reaching kids if you're doing like a school tour, and going to places that kids are. Whereas I would say if you're writing like adult romance and you're self-pubbed, like go crazy on TikTok. Oh my gosh, they eat that
Mhm.
stuff up over there. So, um, yeah, really figuring out what your audience is and what your niche is just so important for anybody. I think that's where I see most people mess up is that they try being too broad. They try doing everything where I'm like, you just really got to hone in on like what you are and what you're doing and who you want to sell to
Yeah.
and figure out from there what's working. It's as we know, this industry is so subjective.
This past weekend, actually, I attended a talk by the senior marketing manager at one of the big five.
Ooh.
And yeah, so her advice, I mean, was pretty similar, with the outlets, but
Hmm.
she had mentioned that Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is kind of dead and that there's
Yeah.
no point in using it at this point. But I still find that it's a nice place to build community,
Me
especially with
too.
other writers, right?
Yeah, I
So
would say in my personal, like, experience, X, I don't use it or Twitter. I call it Twitter.
I
Saying
call it
X
Twitter
sounded
too.
wrong.
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
like,
like it.
yeah. But no, I use Twitter like 100% as like an industry connection. I do not see my readers on there for my self-published books. Like it is just a writer hangout place for me,
Yeah.
which I like a lot. I think it's great that there can just be a site that we can just hang out on as writers.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I'm team you. I'm like, I'm not ditching it because like all my friends are there and it's a great place to like pitch and hype each other up, even if the pitches only get liked by the two same editors. It's fine. It's fun. So
That's true. That's
yeah, like I
very
don't
true.
think that will go anywhere for us in marketing terms, but
Yeah.
hey, connections terms, it's like our LinkedIn kind of, if you think about it.
It's true. I think that it's important to build connections
Hmm.
with other writers because writers are readers too. You
Yeah.
know, especially if we're writing adult or YA and we have writer friends who are in that demographic, they can be your readers and they can help spread the word about your book. We all do it for each
Hmm.
other, right?
That's, like, something I totally learned with self-publishing. Community is the biggest thing. Other
Yeah.
writers, like I met on Instagram, have been my best friends, and they're the people who buy your books, they're the people who promote your books, they will die for your books. Like, really, you are doing yourself a massive favor by creating a community. It doesn't matter what site you're doing it on.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad you agree. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned in-person events. Are there
Yes.
any that you would recommend? Any types, anything like that?
Oh, great question. This is something I am still currently trying to figure out for myself. I've just seen other people do really well in them recently, and I've just seen that a lot of people are getting overwhelmed with the internet and it's so oversaturated. And so when you go to an in-person event, it's less saturated and easier to sell. I'm not sure. I can't guarantee sales for every genre. I just know my middle grade friends have been doing exceptionally well at conventions, which
Okay.
are and specifically conventions that are aimed toward like education. I can't speak for any like adult or YA. I am going to be going to BookCon this year, representing the publishing house I work for at a booth. So I maybe I'll report back on that one. But I'm really excited
Oh.
about BookCon. I've heard great things about BookCon. LA Festival of the Books I've heard great things about. It's LA Festival of Books, not of the books. I got bullied on threads for saying that. Um, I'm sorry.
Festival of the
And
Books sounds kind of cool though, like the
I
books.
know exactly. The books, guys.
Yeah.
Come on. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I think we've seen a lot of scammer events though recently. I don't know
Oh,
if active you are. Where they're like not great events. So if
Yeah.
you are looking into get into more in-person events, make sure to go to something pretty established.
Yeah.
I would say don't take your chances on super new events, but I would definitely really push people to kind of look into it because I do think that that is a rising marketing technique that is working really well for some people.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And I think even, after the pandemic, I think we're all a
mhm.
little bit deprived of in-person connections.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you actually did yourself to market your books?
The self-published books, at the time, I would not recommend this now because it doesn't work very well anymore. Reels were a big thing.
Mm,
Reels now are kind of under like they're just oversaturated now. But I got on Instagram right when Instagram introduced Reels. So I think I got really lucky because when in the beginning of Reels, Instagram was pushing them like crazy. They wanted to be the next TikTok so bad.
yeah.
And so I being like 16 was like, this is fun. And so I would make videos every single day and I would post them on there and my digital footprint is going to haunt me until the day I die. Sometimes I'll get sent an old reel of mine by somebody. I'm like, don't do that. But I grew exponentially through really cringy reels. I used to do like those POV reels and stuff. It was bad. Um, But that's kind of how I grew. I again, like, because the tides change so quickly, that wouldn't work now, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, like, still posting regularly would work, but I really don't think it's gonna make a huge difference.
Yeah.
That is kind of how I marketed. I started doing, before I went to college and I kind of slowed down, I started doing a ton of signings at Barnes& and Noble because I was really annoying and I just emailed them all the time. Barnes& and Noble, depending on where you go, I don't if you're in the States, obviously, is really willing to accommodate indie authors depending
Yeah.
on the store owner, which was really cool to learn. And supporting your local bookstores was, like, such a great way because booksellers are amazing. Booksellers and librarians are, like, the backbone of the industry.
It's so important. I mean, we need them, they
Oh,
need
yeah.
us, so it's mutual.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
We're helping them make money.
exactly. Now, I am fascinated that you work for a publisher. So,
Mhm.
to the extent that you can share what you do, what you see, lessons you've learned kind of from the inside, I think that would be so cool.
Oh, perfect. Now this could be its own podcast episode,
Right?
to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary of working there.
Oh, congrats.
So not super long, and they are, I should clarify, a small press. So like we don't take agented submissions or anything like that. Which has also been really interesting because I kind of learned from being on the other side of like why publishers want agented submissions. It's really interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, actually having a gatekeeper makes things way easier because then we
Yeah.
have to be the gatekeeper and then we have to be the middleman and it's just chaos abounds. Not really, but like we have a system to it. But that's been really interesting to realize that the publishing industry doesn't just have agents because they want to make things harder for you. It actually makes things way easier for the author and way easier for the publisher, um, which is awesome. So that's given me a newfound appreciation for agents when I used to be like, oh my gosh, what? Another roadblock. But in the
Yeah.
end, it ultimately does do something. But I work in the marketing department, so really I see a lot from that perspective. And I think I've said this already, but from what I've really seen from there is just how fast things change. Like something you could be doing 1 month and it's popping off viral, getting tons of followers, could just totally flop the next week and you're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And so just how fast social media changes and how much you can't rely on social media for success has been a little bit crazy. Marketing really depends on the publishing house you're at. Some publishing houses I know do like little to nothing, some do a ton. And I think it really depends on your advance and it's the whole thing. But since we're a small press and we have like the same advance for everybody, we do the same amount of marketing for everybody. But we've also had to like kind of adjust due to the changes in the industry and like having to do that has been really interesting. And
Yeah.
dealing with author conflicts has been really interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, author conflicts, let's talk about that. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. What are some pieces of advice you'd give authors?
So for authors, I would really urge people to understand the industry that you're getting into. I would say 90% of the conflicts that we've run into are just people simply not knowing about publishing.
Mm,
And I would say be educated and ask questions, ask all the questions. Like, that's
Right.
totally chill. Like, we're here to answer your questions, but making accusations is probably not going to get you anywhere. And it's probably only going to damage your relationships before you have like the full understanding of a situation. Uh, and like really good communication, I think, is really what helps. Like, again, like most problems in life, it always goes down to communication.
Yeah.
Um, and being a mature communicator and asking questions and bringing up your concerns is great. And I think every industry is totally, every person, whatever publishing house size you're at, is totally okay with answering your questions. No one's going to be off put by that
So,
with
like,
it.
saying, "You're spending more time on this other person. I'm not
Yeah,
happy
that's
about."
actually an
Yeah.
exact thing that's happened before.
I
And
can see
it's
that.
like, okay, I can see that from your perspective, but let's break that down. There's also like confusions about royalties and how things are paid, which are super Googleable answers. Sometimes some conflicts can be solved by Google search.
Yeah,
But that one I think is
definitely.
like a more like reasonable thing. Like if that is actually a concern that authors are having, I would love if they would come forward and talk about it because sometimes it's like, well, this person's book's coming out and you have earned out already. And we are still marketing your book, but this person is about to come out. So that's why you've been seeing more of a push for them or like something like that. Like answering, coming out of the gates being like, you hate me and you want my book to fail. And that's why you're not promoting me. And I hate you guys is probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
just asking, like, hey, why are they getting more marketing than I am?
Yeah.
That's like totally chill.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
And so what kind of marketing do you do? I mean, I'm guessing that you post to social media. Are there other outlets that
Mhm.
you post to? Do you pay for marketing? Do you work with publicists or anything like that?
We actually are an artist-based, publishing house. It's called Whimsical Publishing and Illustration. It was actually founded by an artist. She was actually the official artist
Oh.
for Stephanie Garber. So everything
My
that we do
favorite.
is art. I know it, she's amazing.
Oh,
So
I love
everything we
her.
do is just surrounded around art. So we are huge on Pinterest. We love Pinterest because we put all of the art on Pinterest. So our whole thing is like pretty covers. We want all the character art in the world. It's just like gorgeous stuff. So that's why I like it because I love art. Um, and we are posting on TikTok and Instagram and all of that. And we also do a lot of events. We organize events for our authors. We actually stopped doing that. That was actually a conflict that we had, where we realized that we can't set up every single Barnes and Noble book signing event for an author because it takes so much time, especially when you have so many authors. So we do set up big events though. Like if an author wants to go to convention, we will totally set that up for them and figure that all out. We are starting to do events as a publishing house, and so I'm in charge of setting those up. I'm in charge of contacting Publishers Marketplace that just started though, so I can't give you a lot of advice on that. And like Kirkus Reviews, Library Journal, and like reaching out to all these big review places. Like I'm basically their communications person, so
Oh,
which
that's
is pretty
fascinating.
fun. So
That's
that's what we are doing.
that's really
Um,
cool. So what's your favorite part of your job?
I don't. That's such a hard question. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I forget it's a job. It's really fun. I would say it's when getting to interact with the authors. It's really fun to be able to talk to authors and get to kind of like see the brains behind the stories. And it's crazy because I'm an author too, but it's just so interesting to talk to other authors and kind of it's just so much fun to try and figure out a marketing campaign, figure out content I want to make, figure out art I want to make, and talk to these people about these little people I've been living inside their brains and kind of figure out how to sell that to people. Like to me, that's so much fun and so fascinating and like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing other creatives' processes and these characters and how to bring them to life. Like that's just so much fun to me. And interacting with people and collaborating on their journey is really fun.
I
I'm a huge
totally agree.
extrovert, so yeah. So,
Yes. Now,
mhm,
what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to get a job in the publishing industry? Would you say anything related to school, any life experience, making
mm.
connections? What helps the most?
See, I'm a terrible person to ask this to because I cold emailed this company.
Oh, wow. Well,
Um,
that's good advice. Just cold
yeah, I'm
email.
like, be annoying, I guess. Like, that's really all you need to do. Um, so I messaged them. I was actually one of my author friends. I was sitting in the back of their booth because I was helping out at their book tour, and I remember just feeling really discouraged. I was a freshman in college. They just told me at my college that freshmen couldn't do internships, despite the fact that I had previous publishing experience. And I really wanted to do an internship because I felt like I wasn't going anywhere with my life. And so I was like, well, if they're not going to let me do one through the school, I'm just going to find one myself. And so I applied formally for a ton of internships, didn't get any or like didn't hear back from any. And so I found this publishing house that I really liked. I've been a huge fan of their books for years. And so I was like, what if I just email them? And so I emailed them and they responded within 10 minutes and they said, we're actually not looking for interns right now. And I was like, oh, okay. And then 10 minutes later, I got another email from the admin who was like, just kidding. That was Micheline. She's our CEO. We actually do need interns here. She's like, please hop on the call. And I was like, okay.
That's incredible.
So I ended up hopping on a call with them and they were like, we actually need a ton of help in our marketing department. And they're like, if that's something you'd be interested in, we would love to take you on. And I'm like, perfect. I post weird reels all the time. I can really help you with that. So that's how I got that. And it wasn't, I think having a kind of successful social media and like some sales under my belt helped me a lot, but I definitely didn't need a degree to get this job. Actually, I think being in college has prohibited me from doing this more than I would like. But I would just say, be persistent, be annoying. Like, really, this career is how long you can like keep hanging on. I would say it's less talent, more persistence. Like, just go for it. Just keep throwing stuff at the wall. I mean, make sure you're throwing good stuff at the wall, but like, be annoying. That's my advice.
That's incredible. I love that. You know, so I had an experience also where I just cold emailed when I was 18.
Oh?
Not in the publishing industry. So I was in law before I started writing.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah.
You're so cool. What do you mean?
Gosh.
What?
Yeah, I was a lawyer for a while. Most people that go to law school or practice law realistically have lawyers in their family. So they kind of know what to do. I didn't know a single lawyer personally, had no idea what I was doing. So I started cold calling law firms and asking if I could be an assistant because I really want to go to law school. And so one lawyer said, yeah, sure, I could use an assistant. Come in and you can start working on Monday. So it was wild. So I went in and the first thing he had me do is photocopy this massive, I don't even remember what it was. It was a massive thing that was like bound, like, you know, like the bindings you can get at like Staples or whatever. So he asked me to photocopy it. So I went to photocopy it and I didn't take off the binding. I just shoved it. And it was not like one of those photocopiers where you just open it and put it down and close it. Like I actually put it into the feed.
Oh no!
And it worked? No, it got completely messed up. It messed up the entire document. The photocopier stopped working. I was in shambles. I quit that day.
So your assistant job lasted one? Oh my gosh. I want to book about that. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
That's
I have not thought of that in years.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
The cold calling works.
It worked, yeah. Not the photocopier. The photocopier did not work.
The photocopier did not work.
That's all. You were perfect. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was my story. But with that, I think this has been so much fun, Lauren. Thank you so much for coming on. Of course.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you had as much fun listening to that episode as we did recording it. And remember to check back next Tuesday for another episode of the Pros podcast.